This is a test to see how the expert charge defense ability works against charging shock cavalry. And the reason why I chose the Pergamenes Noble Cavalry is because they have low armor and high charge, and that is the perfect unit to test the expert charge defense ability against, because the damage that gets reflected back to them is going to cause a lot of damage to them because they have such low armor. So from the previous tests we know that expert charge defense reflects the charge bonus of the charging unit back to the unit itself. It works both in and outside of phalanx. So we're going to brace here, 3 ranks deep. We're going to brace against the Pergamenes Cavalry. We're going to use phalanx, and then the unit isn't going to... the Pergamenes are not going to be cycle charging in this first test. They're just going to be charging in, and we'll see what happens to the Pergamenes Noble Cavalry. So zooming in a bit here just to see how... if there are any fancy animations against cavalry, because there are very fancy animations against infantry. You'll see men getting gutted by spears and impaled when they run into them, which of course doesn't happen against units that don't have expert charge defense. So the Pergamenes incoming, expert charge defense, and the Pergamenes lose quite a few cavalry units on the charge. Against the phalanx as well, they lose quite a few cavalry units on the charge. Not as many, because more made contact here against the Illyrian Noble Hoplites. So in the phalanx, the Illyrian Noble Hoplites weren't knocked down to such a significant degree. They lost less men on the charge, but they were able to do less damage to the Pergamenes Noble. So let's just fast forward here, because the Pergamenes Noble is going to die, of course, when it's engaged against Hoplites. And it looks like it went better in the end for the Illyrian Noble Hoplites that were not in a phalanx. But about the same. It's a... But a lot more kills for the Noble Hoplites that were not in the phalanx formation. So, if the Pergamenes Noble Cavalry cycle charges, things start to get interesting, because that would potentially mean that each charge is going to reflect damage back to the Pergamenes Noble. So even though they're going to do more damage to the Hoplites that way, they could potentially end up doing more damage to themselves as well. So let's see if that happens. Phalanx, no phalanx. Here we go. Let's zoom in to enjoy the fireworks. So the Pergamenes are charging, and they are taking damage. Over here as well, Pergamenes charging. Actually, 9 Pergamenes Noble are getting killed on the charge here, and that is massive. Over here, less Pergamenes got killed. They're pulling out. But still they're taking damage on the withdrawal. But what we're looking for here is if they take damage, how much damage they take on each consecutive charge cycle. So the Pergamenes pull back. They charge in. And the bracing is still applied to the Hoplites, even though they are in a weird formation like this. And you can see the Pergamenes lose men charging in this time as well. So each time the Pergamenes charges into these Illyrian Noble Hoplites frontally, they're going to do damage and they're going to take damage. Against the Noble Hoplites that are not in phalanx, we should see a lot of damage being done to the Pergamenes. And there we are. Pergamenes just got wrecked on the charge, basically, because their charge bonus gets reflected back to them, and they only have 45 armor. So this is bad for the Pergamenes Noble, not a good use of the Pergamenes Noble Shock Cavalry to be charging into units with expert charge defense frontally. And again, losing men on the charge, losing men on the charge. Each time they do this, they're going to be killing Noble Hoplites, but they're also going to be killing themselves to a significant degree. If this was a unit of swords, the Pergamenes would have wrecked the sword unit by now. But since this unit has expert charge defense and excellent armor, it's going to be able to withstand a lot of these charges to a significant degree. So there we are, the Illyrian Noble Hoplites over there. Less men remaining in the unit, but they did manage to defeat the Pergamenes faster. Very weird formation here. And over here I'm going to see what happens when I countercharge the Pergamenes, to see if the expert charge defense is going to be applied to the Pergamenes when I countercharge with Illyrian Noble Hoplites. So when I'm not braced, let's see if it seems to do something as well. Moving up. And the Pergamenes are still going to try to cycle charge against the Illyrians. So let's just see what happens. No, they did not lose a significant amount of men on the charge. So when counter-charging, the Pergamenes catching the Illyrian nobles on the move are going to do much better. They didn't pull out in time, they need to cycle charge quicker than this. But they took a lot of casualties because they have attack orders on them. So they stay in here for too long, and the Pergamenes is going to get absolutely destroyed. So using Pergamenes frontally against Illyrian Hoplites, bad time for the Pergamenes. But it doesn't look like the expert charge defense works when these Illyrian Noble Hoplites are on the move. So catching them on the move could be a good idea, but charging them frontally with shock cavalry like this is still going to be risky. Because they're going to penetrate the formation, the men are going to get back up, and then they're going to start wrecking the shock cavalry. So against Illyrian Noble Hoplites that are on the move, really rapid cycle charging is going to be advised instead of cycle charging a bit slower. So there we have it. Against shock cavalry, expert charge defense works. Shock cavalry is going to have a hard time defeating Hoplites frontally that have the expert charge defense, because the damage is going to be reflected back to them, and that is going to be bad for units like Pergamenes and Hippeus, but it's not going to be as devastating for the Cataphracts, because they have just so much health and they have so much armor that they're going to be able to reduce a lot of the damage coming back to them. So in that regard, the Pergamenes are kind of like the naked warriors of the shock cavalry department. They have a great charge, but they are very expensive, but they don't have the staying power. Strength and honor.